Okay, good afternoon. This is day 142 of making little videos to describe a day or thoughts, day of thoughts in the life of a schizophrenic. Um, I'm My name is Dominic. I experienced schizophrenia, but I believe it is a cognitive war and that I'm not diseased or crazy. NATO has called these things cognitive wars. I have written a book on medium.com describing my thought processes, which could have gotten me targeted for cognitive war, schizophrenia infliction. And in that book, it has some amount of my thought processes, as well as uh, technologies which could induce voice hearing and mind reading, and simultaneous voice reading and mind reading, which is something that schizophrenics present. As I don't talk about too many of the other technologies in that book, but those particular technologies I discuss how they're in the public domain. On day 17 of these videos, I describe why I call myself a schizophrenic rather than targeted an individual. On day 45 of these videos, I describe a 3-minute intro why I make the videos in the first place. In day 138, I describe some of my symptoms or experiences as a schizophrenic. And that's not all the symptoms or experiences, but it's some. And I make these videos to humanize myself amidst a dehumanization campaign associated with a defamation campaign and stigma of mental illness that I receive in this underworld, or like I say, breakaway civ, whatever is going on. All right, so I read the little thought log, and I have it on my phone. I try not to read the thought log, but I try to look at it and give notes or whatever. And yesterday, there was something that's going on in politically, which is something that I thought of in the past, and I'm sure a lot of other people have, given the state of our country sometimes, is the idea of integration versus independence. And, you see like things like the EU come around and there's integration. You see things like ideas floated like the North American Union that Ted Cruz and Hillary Clinton were for at one point. And seems like good ideas to me because it rectifies the in betweenness of that many people find themselves in our global economic and political systems. And immigrants, migrants traveling, or refugees traveling, there's a hierarchy of nationalities that go on as these people travel in between countries and stuff. And some people don't even have citizenship status, and they can be exploited for labor purposes, and our system actually runs off this exploitation. And so I'm not going to talk about that right now, but anyways, that's integration could alleviate a lot of problems in the world. But now there's talk of independence, and you see like there's talk of like California becoming an independent. You see the what people are calling soft secession with the northern states and blue states around the country forming these health alliance networks. And California, Washington, and Oregon just formed them. And so I started to think like, part of you says if you're going to be part of a country that doesn't respect due process, maybe cut your losses now and become independent while there's still a fighting chance. Uh, and I don't like the idea of that because there's like civil war, but then I do like the idea of that because it's like then there's due process. And so a lot of people say maybe we are two countries. I like to think of us as unified. Like I say, I think more integration helps the world more than disintegration. But maybe in an indirect way, I was thinking that like in an indirect way, independence, like a Pacifica, like a Pacifica between Washington, Oregon, and California could, like as a country, it could potentially end up leading to more integration worldwide, because the force that's keeping people from integrating right now is largely red states. If you buy that, like when Hillary Clinton had the thing where she was talking in an email about North American Union plans, and what's that guy's name? Julian Assange. He leaked it to people and said, "Oh, look at this nefarious thing they're talking about." If you buy all that on face value, then the people fighting against the North American Union are red state Republicans. But I don't know. I sometimes think that Hillary Clinton leaked that on purpose, and that the whole thing with Julian Assange monitoring the emails was all like a conspiracy between everybody. And I don't necessarily. It seems like he promoted propaganda that people may have wanted promoted or whatever. And I've said that in a previous post or what video, but like, in any event, in an indirect way, independence by blue states and forming these alliances, and blue state alliance countries and forming their own nations could conceivably lead to more integration worldwide. And then you leave the red states isolated in their weird little red state world that they want, where they don't want to be part of anything or anybody, and they don't want to take care of anybody or anything. And so, but then you have the experience of loving America and saying like it would be great if we could stay together and unified. Unity is very nice. So it's just like, if we could get red states to say, stop legislating from the Bible and stop violating due process, that would be a start to say like, hey, maybe we can mend this relationship. But if you're going to suspend due process when you're in office and everything, and deploy the military into blue states to harass people, it's it's not a really, it's maybe we're just like separate things, and I don't know. But anyways, those are my thoughts as I was as being bantied about. So those are my broken thoughts on it today, as I schizophrenic as I sit here. And so yeah, share that. Uh, what if breakaways? Okay, I was thinking about the breakaway civilization, and I don't know where that fits into all this, either political integration or uh, independence. Maybe the breakaway civ wants us to be independent, so we don't get strong, unified citizen and say, "Hey, where's all this secrecy? What's it all for?" and everything. And I started thinking, like, the breakaway civilization. What if they could induce cloning and reincarnation? And they've been doing this for thousands of years across the millennia and across time. What if they can time travel and they can induce cloning and reincarnation, and they can download consciousness into different bodies, people, in minds and brains, if that's even where consciousness sits. And so I was actually reading in one of my other books about how uh, there's something called the DMN, or the DNM, or the DM. I think it's DMN. And this DMN is the seat where they believe that the self resides in the body, or in the mind, in the brain. And so it's like a section of your brain. And science is now, some scientists believe that that might be where the self resides in the brain. It's called the DMN, I think. I think I have that right. I hope I got it right. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's in my book called Your Brain on Art. Uh, so, anyways, so what if they are downloading consciousness into bodies and reincarnating people across the millennia, and then they're living forever, eternally here and out in the stars and stuff. There's, you know, Marvel had that. There's that comic series called The Eternals, and it makes you wonder, like, where what if there really are eternally living people? They just have to hop bodies, like they gotta hop the body or whatever. And so, yeah, so that's what I was thinking today. Like body hoppers, you can make a movie out of that or something. And so, all right, that's what I was thinking today. And so my schizophrenic brain, I have to do something about being so jaded to go. All right, so I have to, when I go to work, I share here a couple times like the anger that I have about being subject of a cognitive war. And they were actually doing some sort of like old programming styles today when I was going about, and they were saying like they have to be harder on me because they've gone too easy on me, and they got to go harder on me, and they're calling me a lost cause, and it's all this belittlement and degrading treatment to somebody, and it's all because they're fascists and stuff. And what I can say is like the Obama administration was like they were like sex traffickers, and the Trump administration is like labor exploiters, fascist exploiters, belittling, diminishing, and manipulators. Trump is like Trump is like more of a fascist, uh, labor exploiter, and Obama was more of like a sex trafficker. And I don't know that Obama was necessarily involved because supposedly these are special access programs, and it could have been somebody involved with that, but they treated you more like a sex slave versus it, and as much control as they could get from you hands free. And Trump is more of a insulting, fascist, abusive. He's more of like an abusive, kind of like a labor exploiter. And so that's what I can say about Trump. That's a major difference. And I don't know what I like more, Obama or Trump. In some ways, Obama was better. In some ways, uh, I don't even think that Trump necessarily is responsible for my brain giving my brain back to me. I think they just enacted the schizophrenic program for so long, and they said we've done it long enough to this guy. We're going to give him his brain back. And so they haven't given me my freedom back, but they've given me my brain back. And I do have some amount of free will now. So, but it's a lot of it is the same old stuff, and it was like a manipulation for fascists and stuff. So I don't necessarily trust. They're talking about like potentially Obama versus Trump again in 2028, and I'd probably vote for Obama just because I think it'd be better for everybody else. And I don't know that they're necessarily separate. It's like Trump is like he's like a reality show head guy masquerading of deeper dictatorship in this country. And so, yeah, that's what I can say. That's my experience and stuff. So I share that here today, right now. Okay, so, but like I say, if I go to work, if I do get to go to work, because I have to and stuff, I gotta not be so jaded. And it's very difficult when you are being abused and violated by people. It's very easy to be jaded and stuff, but I have to, if I'm gonna go to work, I have to not be jaded, and I have to go about and I have to be more positive. I think I can't be all jaded at work or whatever. You're not going to work very good if you're jaded. And so I know I see a lot of people, and they seem jaded a little bit because like the thing you were promised your whole life about the way this country worked was BS. And even when they were delivering on the promise to some degree, it was still BS. And a lot of people know it now, and they can't process. A lot of people have dissonance. They can't process that how much BS it is, and they blame everybody else for the problems that they have existing in this thing. And so, yeah. I was thinking actually today brings up something. I was thinking like, uh, oh, I can't remember. I'll remember it next time. All right. I was reading in my book, The Fingerprints of the Gods, about this thing called the Skamba, or Skambha, and it's a Sanskrit word coming from talking about chakras and I guess in religious texts from India or Southeast Asia or something. And it I thought the word linguistically was very interesting because it said scam, and it said into the Skamba come enters all existence. And if you follow the Gnostic ideas, like they're saying that the God that made the earth or whatever was kind of like a scam artist, like a fool of a deity, and he created this like kind of evil reality that we all are subject to. And it's kind of like, or he was a kind of he was a little bit foolish. He was a lesser deity, and there's a greater deity in the cosmos, like Sophia, that sometimes they call it. And it's very interesting. And but like if you take a look at this, the Scamba, into the Scamba, what if it's like a linguistic thing and it's like an inside joke or whatever? They're saying into the scam enters all existence. And I thought that was an interesting word, and I have to look more into. I don't know a lot about this. I just read about it today, so I was thinking like, oh, I gotta read about this religion because maybe there's an inside, maybe there's like knowledge being passed about reality through that word or whatever. And so, yeah. Speaking of scams, I started thinking like it's kind of interesting that a New York billionaire is president of the United States, and he's been the leader of the Republican Party for 15 years. And he is telling red states that they don't need government assistance, and these are states that suffer from massive amounts of, or they're hammered by natural disasters. And so it's kind of weird that he doesn't want regulation on insurance, or he doesn't want he doesn't want regulation. He doesn't want the government to be involved in government assistance and stuff. And I think he was, even if you take a look at what's going on in Texas, and who knows what, I know that there's such a thing as other types of weapons and stuff, but in any event, weather is going to happen because the planet is warming and stuff. So these extreme weather events are going to keep on happening, and they're destroying cities and stuff all across the southeast of the United States. And then you have this New York billionaire convincing everybody, because he hates Latinos and he hates poor people, that they should follow him and not be for government assistance or whatever. And they're net benefactors in the southeast of government assistance. And it's kind of seems like a big scam that they would fall for it. And that's my thought. And so, yeah, all right, I gotta stop.